identified specifically policy decisions that were taken in between 2014 to 2024 that has caused a reversal. So what are the 2 or 3 most damaging ones? I know you've touched upon a couple,
right,
but is there something else that you would like to add and or maybe elaborate upon?
I would like to elaborate on that, and I will connect it to the second synergy clearly, and to the first synergy. But I will do that towards the end. But let me address your first question. So you see, I brought the story up to COVID. You see, most people and government particularly has led us all to believe that COVID was an unforeseen event that all countries faced, and therefore, none of us could do anything about it.
But isn't that true?
Yes and no. Let me explain. Different countries reacted to that same crisis in different ways and came through it either with flying colors or very badly. Let me explain. India came out very badly. How? Let me explain. Firstly, the management of the health policy was extremely poor, which I think we all know. The hard evidence for that comes from about at least 7 or 8 independent studies that were done on the number of deaths, excess deaths. The government claims it was only 4.5 lakh, 450,000. The actual number of deaths was 4.5 million, which is about 10 times that much. There was a big debate and a fight between the WHO on the one hand and the government on the other, because the government didn't accept the WHO's numbers. The WHO was accepting the international numbers. And finally, the numbers that prevailed and are still found in the WHO records is the 4.5 million. That means 45 lakh deaths. The implication here is, I think you and I know what hell our societies went through in the first wave and in the second wave, to a much lesser extent by the third wave, because the vaccine had begun to be spread across the economy. This happened partly because there was precious little investment in health prior to COVID. It was a very weak system. We just collapsed. Secondly, it was the management itself. Why did we have to have a national lockdown in a country of 1.4 billion people at 4 hours' notice? South Africa delivered a national lockdown, but at 4 days' notice. They're a country 1/20th physical size and 1/10th the population of India. What did we do? At 4 hours' notice, we delivered a lockdown which resulted in every single person locked in the place where he was. Transport of every kind was stopped, and this went on for many weeks. You will recall the Blavatnik School of Government of Oxford was giving us a metric of how strict lockdowns were across the globe, and ours was the top of the league table. Why? In a country which was as large as ours and as diverse as ours. Please remember that in July, the situation was that lockdown was imposed 25th of March. In July, we still had, supposedly the government was telling us there were 600 cases. Most of those cases were confined to 9 cities which had international airports. So clearly, the problem was in the government's identification of where the problem lay. You should have attacked the problem. The final outcome can be seen in the economic result, because the economic result is the following. The global economy contracted by 3.1% in that year, in FY21. Our economy contracted by 5.8%, which is twice as much. Why? Because it's not just the health policy management was poor, it's also the fiscal and monetary policy management was poor. I analyzed that in a paper in 2021, but that's also discussed in the book. I mean, I think it'll take us too far away from our theme if we go into that. The fact of the matter is that the economy suffered very severe shocks. But the point is that even before the COVID shock, we already know in 2017-18, Yashodhara, that the PLFS, the government data, was showing in 2017-18 the highest open unemployment rate in 45-year history of labor force service in our country. before the COVID, just the year after the first two shocks that I was talking about, demonetisation and GST.
Right.
So if we are in where we are, a lot of blame has to be laid at the door of the government, I'm sorry to say.